Tomatoes are my favorite crop to grow. I love growing them, I love breeding them, I love seed saving them, and mostly I love eating them. Here I have a wide variety of beautiful open-pollinated varieties that I grew on the second year of a drought, and surprisingly, I still managed to get a decent crop. I'm going to show you how to turn this into sauce using the Weston tomato press and sauce maker. Also, I will show a few examples of different varieties or types of tomatoes that you can use and what kind of sauce you will achieve. Every year I make gallons and gallons of both tomato sauce and applesauce. The Weston is a budget-friendly option for making this job much more efficient. The first step is to wash and chop your tomatoes. So I have a bowl here that's already washed, and I want to give you a couple of tips. For the larger tomatoes, typically you want to cut them into quarters and smaller ones into halves. Now, a tomato like this, I'm just going to rip the stem off. There's no need to cut out the core. So I'll cut this one into quarters, and that's done. There's no need to blanch or remove the skin. The machine is going to do that for us. Now, a larger one like this, sometimes I will actually cut out the core here, because it is so large, although technically you wouldn't have to. And I'll actually go smaller than quarters on this one because it's large. It will be easier to push through the machine if you cut them smaller. And another example is a cherry tomato. I will just cut this in half, like that. And that'll make it easier, again, to push through the machine. So I have a beautiful bowl of chopped tomatoes ready to go into the Weston. I do like that it has a large hopper, so we'll be filling the hopper with the chopped tomatoes. Okay, next we'll be using the plunger here to press this into the machine. Oops. You want to make sure that the suction cup is sturdy. Now this one is a manual crank, and the juices from the tomatoes are going to lubricate the machine. So I have installed the apple and tomato screen. So you can see that the sauce will be coming out of the screen and down this chute into the bowl that I've placed here. And the pulp will be coming out the left-hand chute. This will be the seeds and the skin and any cores. I recommend wearing an apron because it does splatter on you and it will stain your shirt. When I'm using this machine for a long period of time, such as 12 or more hours, I do find that I need to take the screen off and wash it because it will get plugged up. Then you can just reinstall and keep going. I also have a video on making applesauce if you'd like to check that out. So this was one hopper full of tomatoes. So not even a full bowl, but literally just one hopper. And this is how much sauce came off of one pass. So with tomatoes, I like to pass this through 3 times. So I'm going to take the pulp here and run it through. So this will be the second passing. The smaller you chop your tomatoes, the easier it will be to pass through. Also, juicier tomatoes are easier than paste tomatoes. It's a good idea to scrape the screen periodically throughout the day to unplug it. So you can see we got quite a bit more juice out of the second passing. So now we'll do a third. You won't get as much with the third pass. You will notice the pulp is very dry. And the third time we got just a little bit more. Give it a good stir to blend your sauce. So this is how much sauce I achieved out of one hopper full. So with the pulp, what you can do with the pulp is feed it to some chickens or animals, or put it into your compost pile, and this will end up in my garden. I just grabbed my 5-gallon pail, so now I can empty my bowl. It is going to splatter a bit. I do make a lot of tomato sauce on a bulk scale, so we will do 5-gallon pails. These are food-safe 5-gallon pails. Next, I will show some examples of different types of tomatoes and the resulting sauce that you will get from each type. Generally speaking, your beefsteak and cherry tomatoes, which tend to be more juicy and watery, will produce a thinner and more watery sauce, versus paste tomatoes and semi-hollow and hollow stuffing tomatoes will produce a thicker sauce. This first example is considered a semi-hollow tomato. It's not quite as thick as a paste tomato, but it's also not as watery as a beefsteak tomato. So I would consider this kind of medium as far as juiciness. The name of this variety is Tlacolula Yellow. It's a beautiful yellow in color. The exterior has a ribbing or fluting to it, and the interior is semi-hollow. I'm a fan of the semi-hollow tomatoes. I also like Green Bell, and I've also grown Shimmig Stew, which was bred by Tom Wagner. I've used the semi-hollow for my own breeding projects, and they're also great sliced and eating fresh. Next, we're looking at a paste variety of tomato. Paste varieties have very little juice and are thick and meaty. They are also more difficult to push through the machine. It's helpful if you can cut them into smaller pieces. The name of this variety is called Mila. It's a beautiful paste tomato with a long orange neck. The foliage is wispy, which is quite typical for the elongated varieties. I was so impressed with the beautiful thick orange sauce that I will be maintaining this variety. I may use it in future breeding projects because I would like the fruit size to increase. This was so thick that it almost resembles applesauce. Next, I'm doing a blend of 2 paste varieties. One of them is Mila, which we just saw, and I'm mixing it with pink Fang, which is another paste tomato. I don't like pink Fang as much as Mila, so I won't be seed saving and pursuing that one. Not only was pink Fang less productive, but the fruit had a poor shelf life and tended to rot before I could get around to using them. Both being paste tomatoes, we still had a very nice thick sauce with the red and orange blended together. I gave it a good stir to blend the colors. You can see how thick it is when I lift it with my spoon. It very much resembles the thickness of applesauce. You won't need to simmer this very long. The last example is your beefsteak and globe tomatoes, which will be juicier and produce a thinner sauce. To thicken it, you can simmer it on your stove top for a longer time. I typically mix all of the varieties and colors together. Well, we've had a busy day and we just made about 17 gallons of tomato sauce. The next step is to preserve this. You can either freeze it or can it. I like to freeze it in gallon bags or can it in quart jars, and that way I can use it all winter long for many uses. I've been using my Weston pretty hard for the last 6 years. I think this year I will upgrade to an electric mill. I grow and breed tomatoes in Zone 4. If you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks for watching.